Hey guys, thank you so much for joining today. I am here with Tina Nail from Nailed It Business Services, and today we're going to be chatting with you all about how to bust the three main myths about growing a successful junk removal business. So Tina, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Melissa. I appreciate it.
It's so good to see you, and I just absolutely love your niche of serving junk removal business owners with all of their bookkeeping and accounting needs. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Well, I've been in business for, since 1990 when I started my first one. Nailed It Business Services is my third business. And I decided to do this bookkeeping for other companies because I don't want everybody else to have to struggle the way I did to learn how to do the bookkeeping, because I was, my to-do list was so long with my other businesses. And, I always felt guilty. Either I'm taking time away from money-making tasks, or I'm taking time away from family to try and figure out bookkeeping, which I didn't care about or didn't really know, want to learn, etc. So I just felt like this was my opportunity to help others avoid all that kind of stress. So.
Yes, you've been there, you've done that, and now you're saving other people the time and the hassle. I love it. Well, I'm Melissa Merrill, and I'm our Partner Development Manager here at Workiz, and I'm so excited to kind of dive into today's agenda. So myth number one, and we hear this all the time in the junk removal industry: I can just run my business with pen and paper. So myth number one. Now, myth number two, if I have accounting software, I don't need field service management software or business management software. And if I just have field service management software, then I don't need accounting software, right? So we hear this kind of go back and forth in the junk removal industry. So we'll be diving into that. And then myth number three, if I'm continuing to just book new jobs and get new leads, then my business is going to be an automatic success, right? Wrong. So we'll tell you why here in just a moment. So let's start with myth number one. I can just run my business with whiteboards, sticky notes, Excel docs, and pen and paper, right? Wrong. In today's digital age, it's crucial to streamline your business operation. So how many times have you missed a call because you've been on another job? How many times have you messed up a client's booking because somebody accidentally rubbed their body up on a whiteboard on the wall in your office and accidentally removed the whole day's schedule? Or how many times has maybe one of your office managers accidentally spilled coffee on one of those big desk-sized paper calendars, right? Things happen. And why wouldn't you enter the digital age and utilize the tools that are here for you to really grow and scale your junk removal business? So with Workiz, you can schedule jobs, you can communicate with your customers, you can collect payments, and you can get reviews all on one platform. So myth number one, stop trying to run your business with just pen and paper. All right, so really Workiz is a complete business solution. It's everything that your service business needs all in one app. We have our built-in phone system, our multi-channel communication messaging platform, auto job scheduling, Tina's favorite, the invoicing and payments, as well as the reporting and lead scoring. So Tina, tell us, if I have a field service management software, do I really need an accounting software?
Absolutely. I get that question all the time. And I understand that, we're kind of in this tech overload in some places. So people want to use as few apps as possible. But as wonderful as Workiz is at being a field service management software, it doesn't provide you a holistic view of your business. Yes, it manages your invoices and your payments, and you can pull some reports from it, but it doesn't manage your expenses or your fixed assets. The reporting isn't as robust as it is in QuickBooks Online, so that you can do cash flow management and all those other things that are so important to growing and scaling your business.
Yeah, it's, I wish that we had all of that, but let's let QuickBooks Online do what QuickBooks Online does best, right?
Absolutely. Find your lane and stick to it. In one of my previous businesses, I found that the reservation software companies were trying to integrate to become software companies as well, or software as well. And it just wasn't working. Trying to be everything to everybody isn't always a good idea.
Yeah, let's trust our friends at Intuit and trust that they know what they're doing, because they've kind of been doing it for a while, right?
A little while, yeah.
So a few questions for our listeners today that I urge you to sort of think about, reflect on, and answer, and then try to come up with an action plan. These are the 3 questions I have for you. How are you currently running your bookkeeping and accounting? So who is running it? Do you have someone helping you with it? Are you just doing it, again, off of sticky notes and Excel docs, or do you have an actual system for it?
And what's scary there for me sometimes, Melissa, you would be surprised how many times I hear people say, nobody, I'm just not doing it, and that's, poor financial management is one of the biggest reasons for failure of small businesses in our country. So, and that's because so many people just don't see it as a priority. They want to be out there doing those money-making tasks and figure it'll, straighten itself out.
Yeah. And that's, we see all the startling statistics of, what business entrepreneurship looks like at year 1, year 2, year 3, year 5. Who's still in business at year 3 and 4 and 5, right?
Right.
So you really got to run a tight ship. And so another question here, how do you sync all of your invoices to your accounting system? So I see a lot of times in junk removal, guys are managing, I accept PayPal, I accept Venmo, I accept Square Cash, I accept cash, I accept check. How are you tracking all of that? And where is it all going into one central location so that you can have, an eagle-eye view of your business?
Right. And if you're accepting all those different options, I know the idea is to make it easy for a customer to say yes, make it easier for them to pay. But if you're accepting all those different payment platforms, think of the extra amount of time that you are spending having to go in, if you're doing it, having to go in and make sure that, all of that is tracked properly and recorded properly. Especially if you're not using an accounting system.
Yeah, you might be making it easier on your customers to offer everything under the sun as far as payment options, but are you actually making it easier on yourself when it comes to, working in your business? We talk a lot about working on your business versus working in your business. So, what can you outsource? What can you automate? What can you delegate? That it's time to run that tight ship, right?
Right.
So how are you currently tracking your expenses as a business owner for tax reporting purposes? And we'll get into this a little bit in later in today's session, but tracking expenses, I see this so often where people have, office supplies, different software integrations like Zoom or Calendly or whatever they're using to run their business. They have all of these nitty-gritty little things. They have gas purchases, they have clients that they buy lunch for, like whatever it is, there's so many little nitty gritty things that I think can really get lost if no one's tracking it.
Absolutely. And the honest, and honestly, and we've all heard it, probably all done it at one time or another where, you have a stack of receipts sitting, on the floorboards of the truck or your desk and I'm going to get to it. And either you don't, and, receipts don't always have the right amount of information on them that you think it should be. So 3 months from now, you're going to be going, what did I spend that money on? So, not only are you're probably spending more in tax preparation fees because you're not organized than you could. And you may be losing out on potential deductions, business deductions, if you don't, remember what some of these expenses were for. So.
Yep. It's so important to get organized and really, corral all of those little nitty gritty pieces of sand that can get lost in the truck. So QuickBooks Online and Workiz, we do work hand in hand. It's an accounting software, obviously geared towards small businesses. Most of you have probably heard of this. If you haven't, and if you're not using any sort of accounting software, if you're not using QuickBooks Online already, Workiz users actually get 40% off of QuickBooks for 6 months. So if you're curious about that, you can always send us a message, send us an email, and it's also listed on our website, so workiz.com. But yeah, I mean, I think QuickBooks is a no-brainer. That's what I've always used in my business. And I just think, you know, you can't miss a great deal with 40% off 6 months here.
And let me point out a couple of things with QuickBooks Online, and not to steal your thunder here, Melissa, and I apologize, I kind of misread that when we were looking at it earlier. There's also a wholesale program that's for the lifetime of subscriptions. So that's another way that you can potentially save money on your subscription. I know that everybody wants to save money as much as possible. So people will look at QuickBooks Simple Start or Self-Employed because they're really inexpensive compared to, you know, some of the higher up excuse me. What am I thinking? Options. So, but they are not designed for companies who want to grow and scale a business. They're not designed. Simple Start doesn't even allow you to enter bills into QuickBooks. And they're just not designed for somebody who's going to have employees and multiple locations and that sort of thing. And when you take advantage of Workiz's 40% discount or the wholesale program available through Pro Advisors, in the end, you would be paying for an essential subscription only $2 to $5 more than you would pay for a Simple Start. So sometimes saving that extra $5 isn't worth it. Just
yeah, and focusing on, you know, your business growing and scaling, I think, is always the end game, right? Who doesn't want to expand to multiple locations, hire more tech, things like that? So love that advice and insight. So as far as invoicing and Workiz Pay, we do have a integration with Chase Bank that actually helps our users process credit card payments. From those, you can create custom invoices. You can put your branded colors on there, your logo. You can let customers pay invoices online. I'm a millennial, but I'm also a homeowner. And so when I have, you know, plumbers come over, HVAC guys come over, electricians, junk removal folks, all of the above, I really want that one-click payment option. I don't want to have to go to the bank and get cash. I don't want to have to write a paper check. I don't want to have to have a paper receipt that, you know, or even an email. Like, I just want a text message with a payment link, and that's all I want to do. And that's what Workiz offers. And so I really think that we're kind of ahead of the curve of, you know, how we're letting service pros run their businesses these days. So one more thing to note here too is, as the service pro, as the junk removal business owner, you really want to know your numbers and track every detail. So Workiz has a My Money section where you can actually see, okay, where am I at? You can run reports, and that's going to go hand in hand with QuickBooks Online as well. All right, so moving on, we talked a little bit about expenses in a previous slide. So, you know, are you thinking about your mileage, your gas, your business expenses? Why is it important to track location, right? Track your employees out on the road, track your trucks, track your fleet, track your users. Like, maybe you have a manager that's, you know, has the app on their phone. How can you track their location and really do your due diligence to make sure that subcontractors aren't stealing jobs, make sure that your equipment is safe, your inventory is safe, all of it. You know, we do a lot with like dumpster rentals, right? How many times are your dumpster rentals getting stolen or getting, you know, moved or getting damaged while they're out there? So we have a little bit of asset tracking capability as well. But Tina, any, you know, further comments on why it's so important to track all of these expenses?
Well, and it all boils down to, we know nobody wants to pay more taxes than we have to. And we want to earn as much money as possible, but we also want to keep as much as possible. And the best way to do that is to make sure that you're keeping track of your expenses. Especially when it comes to junk removal, you've got your gas and all your vehicle expenses and your mileage. I know most junk removal companies will end up taking the actual vehicle expense deduction on their tax return. But there are a few that end up with mileage because they just tend to, you know, have more rural areas where they're traveling more. And that's a good thing. But then the bad part about it is that vehicle expenses and mileage is one of the biggest flags that the IRS will look at when considering whether to audit a company. So by using the feature in Workiz that tracks the mileage and tracking your gas and all your other expenses in QuickBooks, you will have the documentation that you need to back up what you're putting on your tax return. And if you have that, then that red flag is very easily solved, and you're not now having the IRS going, well, gee, you can't back that up. Let's see what else we can find. So, you know, the mileage tracker in Workiz is perfect. With QuickBooks Online, you can snap pictures of your gas receipts and other expenses and snap that picture, and it sends it right to QuickBooks. So it's recorded for you that easily.
Yeah,
and you're ready for your taxes.
Yeah. And if there's one thing the IRS likes, it's data, right? Yeah. So they want to see those reports that Workiz can run. They want to see those reports that QuickBooks Online can run. They want to see the reports that Tina can help you run, you know, and know what to run, right? Know which analytics to take a peek at. So you definitely want to take this stuff seriously. It's no fun to try to mess around with taxes. So on that same note, in Workiz, you can also book out multi-locations, metro areas to say that you are growing. You have a team of maybe 4 or 5 guys that now work with you. Maybe you work in one of those rural areas where you want to make sure that, you know, people aren't driving to Timbuktu if they already live out there, you know, things like that. So you can really plan your routes within Workiz and separate, you know, who can take which jobs, just to kind of tighten up your expenses and make sure that you aren't, you know, spending more on gas than you need to, or driving more than you need to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this because, I mean, I ran my own field service management business here in San Diego for about 10 years, and San Diego is huge. You know, we served all the way from Tijuana all the way up to Temecula, if anyone's familiar with San Diego. And so that's really about 100, 150 square miles. And so I knew that I did not want to be driving, you know, from here to here during rush hour, or, you know, sometimes that would be a 2-hour drive, right? So when I grew and scaled and I hired 4 team members, it was crucial for me to say, okay, she works here and she works here and she works here, and nobody was doing any unnecessary driving or spending any unnecessary money on gas. All right, so our final myth before we wrap up today: if I'm continuing to book new jobs and get new leads, my business will be an automatic success, right? Wrong. There's so much more to strategize as you grow and scale your junk removal business. So are you paying attention to your reporting, to your metrics, to your analytics? Are you checking in on your techs? Are you looking at their timesheets? Are you checking in on those techs and making sure that, you know, they're not stealing any work, right? If they're subcontractors. And then you can actually listen to call recordings all within the Workiz platform. So maybe you're having performance issues with a dispatcher or with an admin staff member. You can actually take a peek and be a little bit of a big brother and listen in on those customer conversations if they aren't converting those leads into jobs. So there's a lot more to think about than just booking new jobs. You've got to worry about the other guys on your team, the people in your office managing your, you know, your phones, and also your marketing dollars. So Workiz has the opportunity to give you all of those tracking metrics within the platform.
And in addition to, you know, having those tracking metrics, the KPIs within Workiz, those are fantastic for looking at how your back office is operating, but it also gives you a starting point for putting systems in place. The idea for growing a business, well, actually, I mean, there's a difference. You may work for yourself, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have a business. You may just be out there doing a job day to day and, you know, nothing's changing. In order to have a business that's going to sell, if that's the ultimate goal, someday you have to have systems in place. If you want to get off the truck and be able to take a vacation with your family and know that your crew is doing a good job, you have to have systems in place. And the reports that I see in Workiz are a great starting point for the back office systemization of your company. And then, you know, to take that one step further, QuickBooks gives you the reporting that you need to say, okay, how can I grow? How quickly can I grow? Am I meeting my sales goals so that I can meet that goal? You know, so the two of them hand in hand, I think, it gives people a really good opportunity to position themselves for success.
Definitely. And I think a lot of times, junk removal folks, they start this business because they're like, hey, I have a truck. Hey, I can lift heavy things. Hey, I have some friends that might want to help me out. And they, don't necessarily start off as like true, went to business school, have an MBA, and none of that's needed. And that's the beauty of, the beauty of entrepreneurship is you can start a business relatively easily in junk removal. It's just, you've got to know all of these foundations that you got to lay before you start building that house, right? You don't want your house to fall over when a gust of wind comes. You want to make sure you have these really foundational pieces in place. Yeah.
And I think people get kind of scared when I say, hey, you need to be reporting and putting your systems on paper. It can be overwhelming at the thought of putting all that on paper and getting those all organized. But if you're using Workiz and QuickBooks and you just start with one segment, like you said, you've got your marketing return on investment reports. Start with that system. And if you start it from the beginning, doing those kind of things from the beginning, at least tracking them, then it doesn't have to be this daunting, massive project. So,
yeah. And I think starting early too, a lot of our users are new to business ownership. And so the sooner you start tracking these things and setting up your systems and your structures and your routines, it's going to become just a lifestyle for you. You know that, okay, when I have my receipt from the gas station, I scan it in QuickBooks. And when I have a payment that's due for my client, I text them their payment. Like it just, you kind of learn and it becomes habit and routine. And that really is going to set you up for success.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you want to grow and scale your junk removal business, it's definitely time to start getting organized and stop losing all those sticky notes, erasing whiteboards accidentally, updating those siloed Excel documents that don't talk to each other, and really start automating and streamlining your business processes and accounting. So Tina has an awesome deal for you. It's 30% off of Workiz for new users for 3 months. You can check that out by heading to workiz.com/nailedit to grab Tina's gift for you. And definitely check out Tina's services at www.naileditbusinessservices.com if you're in the junk removal industry and if you're having fire alarms and light bulbs go off during this session and you're like, okay, I need help, clearly, please reach out to Tina and I'm sure she'll take care of you. Thank you, Tina, so much for being here today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I think that this will be very valuable for a lot of business owners. So I appreciate your time in putting this together and working with me.
Definitely. All right, guys, stay tuned for our next webinar. And thanks so much for attending today.